is Wink Tracks the Tropics, powered by the Weather Authority.
When the tropics are active, timing is everything. The Weather Authority is keeping you prepared.
The latest update did come in from the National Hurricane Center. Helene moving north-northeast. Winds have increased up to 90 miles per hour.
Keeping you informed.
It's now 170 miles northwest of us, and as we had mentioned, this is a major Cat 4 hurricane. This is going to have major landfall implications.
Southwest Florida has seen its fair share of storms in the past few years.
We are leaving immediately after this because it is not safe. You're starting to see some of these debris, sticks flying up and out, and it's one of the reasons why Sanibel is evacuated. It clearly is not safe out here.
But our slice of paradise has bounced back in ways we'd never expect.
It was tough.
We had each other, and that's a good thing.
I wouldn't have made it without Marianne. We're going to make it, though. We're going to make it.
Wink News has been there with you every step of the way, and that won't change.
Yes, we avoid the worst part of the storm, but the wind field's growing and the pressures are deepening. We're going to feel more of that influence on the back end with the surge.
From forecast cones to important safety reminders, the Weather Authority has you covered. You're watching Wink Tracks the Tropics. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wink Tracks the Tropics. I'm Wink's Weather Authority Val Simpson. And yes, you guessed it. We're now tracking Tropical Storm Jerry and also another area of interest that is headed into the Bay of Campeche. And in order to get started today, because we do have a lot to go through, I want to start off things just by breaking the ice here with the question of the day. Andrew, go ahead and punch that for me. Now, this is very interesting because the question of the day is, would you use your PTO to sleep or to go on vacation? The reason why I brought this question up is because we've seen it this morning in some of our newscasts where AmeriSleep, this is a company that did a recent study, shows that 37% of Americans are using PTO to sleep instead of going on vacation. Can you believe that? But this is just a way to get the conversation started here. And I do want to punch up our panel. You guys, have you seen the story that was playing out this morning?
It's pretty interesting, right? We even heard from some locals about their opinions.
Really? So what do you use your PTO for? Would you stay home? And I mean, I guess in our case, it's more like a staycation. We can't complain because in Southwest Florida, it's so beautiful. It's like you walk out the door and it seems like you're on vacation.
That's true.
Exactly that.
But what would your preference be?
I mean, hear me out. You can sleep while you're on vacation sometimes, you know? You could do a 2-for-1 kind of deal. You're relaxing by the beach or something like that.
True.
So that's
The
my
only
take.
thing with that, though, is you're spending money. You know, if you're like sleeping in a hotel room, you might as well just sleep at home if you want to use it for sleep.
I'll spend money to sleep somewhere fancier, you understand?
Yeah, there you go.
I understand, I guess.
I like that. You guys, do you agree? What do you think? Vacation?
I think both.
Yeah? Oh,
I
okay.
think it depends. If you have enough, then I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a day to, I don't know about sleep. I think that's kind of what my weekends are for.
Okay.
Like sleeping a lot, like going to bed early and sleeping in.
Yeah.
But I think just to rest, and like you said, like we can go to our own beaches.
Yeah.
Like just to spend the day outside here in Southwest Florida, like on your own porch. That's always a nice restful thing to do as opposed to just sleeping.
And it does depend on how much PTO you have. You know, if you're taking a week off, are you going to really use 7 days of PTO to sleep away?
No.
What are you, a mommy?
Or,
right.
you know, so if you're taking one day, that's a little different.
That's a hibernation.
That's true. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we want to hear from you. So if you're tuned in right now, let us know what would you use your PTO for, sleeping or going on vacation. Remember, this is an interactive platform. We are live right now on YouTube, Facebook, and also on our website, winknews.com. We're taking your questions on Facebook and YouTube throughout the entire stream. So, guys, we have Tropical Storm Jerry that we need to get to, and also another area that we're watching right now, headed into the Bay of Campeche. It's right over the Yucatan Peninsula. But yeah, I mean, this was just right out of the National Hurricane Center last minute, right in the advisory, the 11 o'clock advisory. So, should we get to it?
Let's do it. Go for it.
Okay, let me do a little review, and then I'll bring you guys back up. Okay, so let's do a quick overview. This is the weather outlook that I have on right now so that you can see exactly where these areas are located. There is the Tropical Storm Jerry, and then also we have, that should be on 2. There we go. Tropical Storm Jerry, and then we have the other area of low pressure. It has a 10% chance of development right now over the Yucatan Peninsula, making its way into the Bay of Campeche. And here's the thing, before we start to get into any of the nitty-gritty and the details, none of these two areas present any type of risk or concern for us here in Southwest Florida or the United States, I should add.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, there you go. That's what we like to hear. These are the type of storms that we like to track. But I want to share with you, and let's start off with this satellite view of Tropical Storm Jerry, because obviously it's been organizing itself a little bit better in the last few days. It had a 90% chance of development early this morning. We knew it was going to happen. We've been talking about it yesterday during our streaming, that what was causing it to take so long, because it seemed like all the ingredients were there. And here you have it now, Tropical Storm Jerry. This is the cone track from the National Hurricane Center that I'm going to show you next. And they are forecasting the system to become a Cat 1 hurricane. It's supposed to stay a Cat 1 hurricane for quite some time. These are the stats. Right now it's producing winds, max sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. It's headed west at 24 miles per hour. It's moving quite fast, as you can see. And we're going to continue to monitor it because, like I mentioned, it will become a hurricane. Now, unlike the other storms that we've seen or other systems that we've seen throughout this hurricane season, it doesn't seem like this one is going to have any rapid intensification. Notice how it's going to be intensifying into a Cat 1 hurricane by Thursday morning. However, you know, we've seen, this is the same story that we've seen with other storms where maybe it wasn't forecasted to have that rapid intensification, and then that ended up being that way. But luckily, like I mentioned, look at the cone of the National Hurricane Center. It's taking it to the northern Atlantic. And if we take a look at what the models, I think it's in agreement with most of the models right now, saying that it's going to take that same turn, that same curve. And I'm trying to see if there we go. And there's just a few models that do touch the edge of Puerto Rico there a little bit, but most of them, and what we look for is always the models to be in agreement with the way. That's the one that we actually lean more towards. If there's more models that are agreeing to a certain path, that's likely or more likely what's about to happen. So that's that with Tropical Storm Jerry. Now let's take a look at what's going on with the other little area, the lemon area that Josh calls it. So yeah, it's over the Yucatan Peninsula right now. It's producing a large area of showers and storms, as you can see, and it's moving into the Bay of Campeche. Is probably going to move in by later today. And then after it's in the Bay of Campeche for a bit, it will move into Mexico around Wednesday and Thursday. Again, only a 10% chance on this one. So, and the most important thing is that it's not bringing any risk to us here in Southwest Florida. Now, something that I do want to mention is that this area right here that popped up yesterday afternoon, it's very likely to see this type of development in this location. And I'm going to show you what the typical or historically what the hotspots have been for the month of October. And you're going to see that it correlates with what we're seeing right now. So this is pretty much where the tropical frequency has been since 1944 until 2020. And notice how the areas, the yellow is possible areas of development. And then when we see the orange, which is somewhere in the middle, that's likely to see development in those areas. The darker shades of red are the most likely. But it just gives you an idea and an overview of what to expect for the month of October. So this is very much in line with what we're seeing currently right now, specifically with this area. Not to mention also Tropical Storm Jerry, that is 1,000 miles, a little bit more farther than the Windward Islands. So, and that's also marked in yellow there for you. Now, some of this has to do with as we move into the early months of the fall season, I should say, or the first weeks of October are fall. And you can notice how maybe the Central American gyre is playing a role, since it tends to be more predominant during this time of the year. So basically what this is a broad area of low pressure that sometimes tend to spin tropical activity. It could be hurricanes or tropical storms. Now, regardless of any type of development, if it spins or not anything, it does produce a lot of rain for this area, for this location. So it's associated as well with a lot of rainfall, gusty winds, etc. And you could also, mudslides, for example, very dangerous mudslides. So this is something that this area needs to look forward to. Now, the question for us is this where we need to bring our attention now for the remainder of hurricane season? And to answer that, let's go ahead and punch in the panel of Mets. Guys, what are your thoughts? We have this broad area here that we're watching right now where, in fact, this 10% lemon is moving into the Bay of Campeche. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely, Val. So that is typically an area that we'll be watching, especially this time of year throughout the month of October. Like you mentioned, it does become a little bit more active during the early portions of fall. You're seeing it in action right now, that area of interest that's moving over the Bay of Campeche. Again, good news is it has a low chance of development, and that one is actually going to be moving away from us. But it all depends on what those upper level winds are doing, right? Luckily, this time it'll be carrying that system more so to the west instead of trying to churn it up and move it off towards the north. And we look at long-range model guidance just to really stay on top of it. Again, we like what we see for at least the next 7 to 10 days. There's also these oscillation patterns that kind of move around the globe. And when they kind of strike right on top of this Central American gyre, sometimes that's also when it becomes a little bit active. So there's a lot of different factors that we watch for. Again, we don't see any of those causing any issues for us for at least the next 7 to 10 days. So that's what we like to hear. And of course, we'll just continue to keep tabs on it for you.
Guys, and when we compare the two systems out right now, why is it that we have one that's a tropical storm in the Atlantic and then only a 10% chance of development for the yellow area? What is missing there? What's the difference between the two?
Well, with the one that is given a 10% chance of development, that one has a very small amount of time over water. And that's the biggest thing that we're seeing with Tropical Storm Jerry. He has plenty of time, and he's something I noted, he's moving really quickly also at 24 miles per hour right now, racing over those very warm waters of the Atlantic. He has plenty of time, whereas that area in the Bay of Campeche, that one, it really doesn't have much time at all before it makes its way over Mexico, and that's kind of what we saw last week when we had that area of low pressure over the Bahamas. It's given a very slim chance of development because once it moves over land, it's kind of all bets are off. It's very hard for anything to spin up once it makes its way over land. So it's just got a lot less time over all that energy in the water.
So even if it doesn't develop the area in yellow, what are some things or what kind of impacts potentially could Central America and Mexico see?
They could see some of those gusty winds, heavy rain, regardless of development. We're still expecting to see conditions that are not, great for that area. We're not talking about tropical storm conditions, of course, as it only has that 10% chance of developing, but still could see heavy rain over the area.
Yeah. And mostly, again, right, when we move or when we look at the end of hurricane season, where is the development more likely, you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, right there. You showed the graphic that showed the typical paths and origin points of tropical systems in the month of October. And that's pretty much spot on. Again, eventually, the Atlantic starts to quiet down, right? Because those water temperatures aren't quite as hot. It becomes a little bit less favorable out there in terms of wind shear as well. The Gulf and Caribbean really becomes the hot spot for late season. So far, good to go out there. We'll keep that trend moving. But again, you could just see typically where storms would develop the month of October and where they track. We've seen them absolutely here in Southwest Florida, the state of Florida, the past several years. We've seen very similar tracks for the month of October.
We don't want to.
But we're not going to do it this year.
We don't want anybody to tell us that we're jinxing.
We have Priscilla over on the other side of Mexico, and when the Pacific season, they've had a pretty active season. They're already at P. And that usually means that we see a little less activity. So hopefully that trend continues. We're always keeping our fingers crossed that nothing happens, but we'll always keep our eye on it,
Guys, let's talk about the steering, because the models are in agreement with the National Hurricane Center cone, but there are a few that have it or are hinting that it might come very close to Puerto Rico. What do you guys think?
It's always interesting to see exactly which models those are, because sometimes you have specific hurricane models like the HMON, HWRF, all those. Sometimes they're good in the short term and not so good in the long term. And sometimes with these systems that originate off the coast of Africa like this one, if some of those models want to keep the system a little bit weaker, then it will show it pushing a little bit further west. Whereas you look at the majority of them, most of them are in good agreement that Jerry, like the National Hurricane Center is saying, is going to strengthen into a hurricane. Stronger storms will generally get pulled northward instead of continuing to westward. And you also have to look beyond the models, right? You've got steering patterns in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We're looking at this Bermuda High, which is to the east of where all those lines are, all right, so to the right of it, and that's a little bit weaker, it's a little bit further east. It allows this storm to take a path towards the north, and then as our secondary defense, we've got a big old cold front that's going to be pushing across the state of Florida and the southeast.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and that one will be our secondary line of defense that even if Jerry tried to push further west, well, it's not going to be able to go very far because the front will block it.
And the reason we can be so confident with the National Hurricane Center's trajectory with this storm, too, is, I mean, we saw how quickly this has already strengthened into a tropical storm. I mean, we very well could have just saw this upgraded to a tropical depression for the next update. Instead, it was upgraded automatically to that tropical storm status because it is getting better organized. So a stronger storm, as Josh mentioned, you know, following that path, the least resistance.
Guys, we have some comments coming in from YouTube. I'm going to take a moment to go ahead and read some to you. Tim, he says, good morning, peeps.
Hey, Tim.
He also says, what sleep? Laugh out loud. I guess he's
We wouldn't know.
the question of the day. And then JD says, okay, no factor. Hello, JD. Where are you watching us from? And then Deb B also just joined. She says, good morning.
Good morning.
For everybody. Yes.
Thanks
okay,
for joining us.
Yeah, remember, guys, we're watching your comments, any questions coming in. If you have any questions regarding this hurricane season or anything for our Mets, we can go ahead and answer that for you in real time. Guys, so let's talk a little bit about this cold front coming in. I'm excited about it.
Yes,
I love it because it's working as a shield, keeping us away from any types of storms. Also working hand in hand with the high, the Bermuda High. But what can we expect in terms of if anything else were to develop in that area, in the Gulf or the Caribbean, if we continue to have these fronts coming our way? What kind of implications could that have?
Yeah, well, the fronts kind of come periodically, right, from here on out. So there's times where there is not going to be a cold front. That means there's plenty of moisture. There's nothing that's inhibiting growth or development in the Gulf and the Caribbean. Those are the times that we really have to watch out for. And it's almost every single time that we do have to track a storm closer to home in October, we're also timing out a front that's moving across the country, right? So those two kind of go hand in hand because at some point in October, if there's a storm, that front is going to push it further east. Of course, the question always is, when and where will that happen? We don't have to do that right now. All right, because there's no indications of anything spinning up right there.
Yeah.
But, you know, to your question of what do we watch for, that's exactly what we watch for.
Do you guys think that it's harder to forecast something, a storm developing in the Atlantic versus along the Central American gyre? Do you think it makes a difference?
Yeah, I don't think there is. I mean, it's also just dependent on how many factors are going on. You know, of course, if we're seeing some wind shear, if we're seeing different conditions, I mean, the water temperature, there's so many different factors that, you know, yes, it could play a role, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it really has to do with the factors of the surrounding environment of the system.
We also talked about the fact that this tropical storm will not be intensifying or rapidly intensifying like we've seen with some other tropical storms this hurricane season. Why do you guys think that is?
That is so interesting, and this is something that I brought up earlier because it's just hard to think about because we've seen so much rapid intensification. We've seen 2 Category 5 hurricanes take this path, and it's just like, why not? And there was a couple days ago, I've been watching the intensity models, and some of those, you know, models are looking long-term, making it seem like it could be a little bit stronger of a hurricane, whereas today, things are kind of dying down. And I did look at the wind shear, and of course, that's always a factor in terms of keeping a storm weak. But, you know, I do find it interesting, and I know the National Hurricane Center starts off a little bit lower. At least this whole season, we've noticed they've kept things on the weaker side, whereas like I think with Aaron, they had it at like a 2 or 3 early on, and that thing just grew. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with this one, but it's pretty early on to see, you know, we're going to be watching all those factors like Lauren said. There's a lot of things that go into something like this.
Yeah, good point.
As long as it stays far away.
Yeah,
I don't
no
care. I don't
problem,
care.
Fred. Grow
Backers.
as much as you want. As
Yeah, I
long
was
as
going
you're
to
not
say,
coming
you
to
could just stay far away, please.
So it's a fish storm.
Yeah, we
Let's
would like
hope
that.
so.
I mean, of course, yeah, we're hoping so. I mean, of course, you know, the outer fringe, the Leeward Islands, we're continuing to monitor
They got to
that.
keep an eye.
That's a spot we were watching, and if you can even, I don't know if you can zoom in on that forecast cone, but you can kind of see how some of the Eastern Caribbean islands there are kind of on the fringe of that cone. That's where the models were, there was at least a little bit of separation in them. I'm leaning towards the ones more so, again, on the right, which it appears that the National Hurricane Center also is. That would bode well for Bermuda, too. And again, farther away from us, the better.
Yeah, yeah. Good deal. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on because we got some other things to get to today. And I know that, Oceana, you have our hurricane tip of the day. What do you have for us today?
Quarter trip.
The quarter.
That one was a
I
success.
will be bringing that up once again at some point because I love that tip. And obviously everybody else did too.
Yeah.
But this one's something that I think a lot of us know, but you know, if you're not from Florida, you probably don't. So it's going to be filling up your bathtubs and your sinks, like put the little cork in your sink and fill them up with water before a storm. And you're going to want to do this not for drinking purposes, but to fill your toilet so that you can flush it, you know, and if you boil it, or actually you wouldn't be able to boil it because then you wouldn't have power. But I'm saying it's
You have
just
gas,
best, I guess,
right?
gas, yes, exactly right, Lauren.
Does that work?
Yeah,
I
there
don't
you
know.
go.
My
If you have a
appliances
lit-
are electric,
you got
so
a
I
little
don't know,
gas
but-
stove, you know, if you got propane, a grill,
Yeah.
you could boil if you put your
Okay.
thing, whatever. Then you can have some water in your tubs and your sinks. That's just a good way to keep some water, fresh water available to you, especially to flush your toilet. And then this is something that me and my college roommates did back when Adalia came, is we filled up every single cup that we had with water and put it in a spot on our counter so that we would actually have some drinking water in case, because before Adalia, up in Tallahassee, the stores went berserk and it was crazy town. We managed to get like a couple, like 1 or 2 gallons of water. Luckily, we didn't even need any of this, so it was totally fine. But that's another thing you can do. If you've got extra cups of water laying around, fill them up with fresh drinking water so that way you never even have to, it's never even a thought in your mind. If you're staying in your house, you've got water on hand.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I think water is essential when it comes to hurricane preparedness.
Especially when you're all hot from no AC.
Oh, yeah.
The worst.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Yes. Guys, okay, thank you so much, Oceana. And again, if folks watching, if you have a good tip that you'd like to share, let us know, and we will make sure that, we can broadcast it here on
Even
our
if you think it's obscure, I want to hear it.
I
too,
know,
'cause
I know.
Please, I want
Listen,
unique ones.
We hadn't
I
heard a
know.
lot about the quarter trick before, and now I'm on
trick.
board. So you
Yeah.
got to hit us
Yeah,
with some
see,
new
we got
ones.
Josh on board with the quarter trick,
We
so
have a-
comment more unique stuff.
Many believers, many believers. All right, Josh, but now it's your turn because I know that you have some very interesting pictures to show us from our Wink Weather Watcher Spotlight. Take it away.
Yeah, I do. Of course, this one, the talk of the town the past couple of days. Not only a full moon, but
Gorgeous.
the first supermoon of 2025. It peaked last night at 11:48 p.m. We've got the best weather watchers in the world.
These put mine to shame.
Yeah, mine
Look
too.
at that.
I
Mine
didn't
was-
even
mine
try.
I
was
feel like
so
you can
embarrassing.
touch it almost.
This
Oh,
one,
was
this one from
taken with a
Kenneth. Kelly
professional.
Green's beautiful community there, Fort Myers, Iona. You know, this is about as good as it gets, right? I mean, this has got to be a professional photo.
Yeah.
My iPhone certainly wasn't doing this one last night. You
Kenneth
can
always
see,
gets great photos.
you can see all of the details there on that supermoon. I think we've got another picture too,
do. I'm
if you
gonna
want to
pop
pop
that
that
up.
one.
Let me
This
see.
one obviously professional, up close, beautiful. But a lot of us were actually able to see the moon even early this morning. If you
Ooh,
were
I
went to
didn't
bed
see that one.
early like me.
Early.
This one from the Lely community there near Naples. Dot Dunbar sent this one in this morning,
love that.
just before sunrise. You could still see that moon in its full glory, right? And guess what? If you missed out on it, don't worry. You'll probably still be able to see it tonight. And we've got 2 more supermoons on the way to close out the year of 2025. So a lot more moon sightings for us in the future.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I love these. Especially
Yes.
they light up the sky early in the morning.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I gotta say, our weather watchers, I mean, we were saying it all morning. I mean, they've done a stellar job with those moon pictures. You go onto our Facebook page and you just swipe, and there's just so many and it's so cool to seeing the different perspectives from Naples all the way to our inland areas like Clewiston of that Superman. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing
Lauren,
those.
I have to say I loved your video. That's how I took my picture this morning, like with the zoom. If you haven't seen it yet, go to her Instagram because it shows you how, she tells you how to take a picture of the moon so you can actually see, so it's not just like a white dot.
Because that's
That's
how
what mine usually
always
looks like.
look like.
Mine was a little bit better this morning because I was able to zoom in, do the little exposure thing.
I did see it. It did look impressive.
Oh, thanks. It wasn't too bad. It
I
wasn't
didn't know you
anything
used
like
the
Kenneth,
tips, but that's awesome.
I loved that.
Yeah, and again, shout out to all of our weather watchers for sending in so many amazing pictures. And if you want to go ahead and become a weather watcher too, you can do so by heading over to our website, winknews.com. You can fill out the form. We'll have you sign a release, and then also it'll give you exclusive access to a Facebook group where you can mingle along with other Wink weather watchers yourself.
Join us.
And speaking of which, I have some comments coming in. Tim is saying, any Wink weather watchers in the chats? And we're getting responses from Debbie. Debbie said, yes, hi, Tim. She's here. So shout out to Debbie Broomfield. She's from Northwest Cape. Hi, Northwest Cape. And then also, Kenneth is the GOAT of picture taking.
He is.
He is.
That's
They were
true.
watching, I guess, the stream saying that. Good job. Yes, Kenneth is the GOAT. Does Kenneth have a professional camera? How did he take that
He does.
picture?
He
Yeah.
He must, right? That is unbelievable. That's
Or telescope.
really
Oh, true.
beautiful.
Maybe
You can take
telescope.
pictures through a telescope and they look amazing. Now, I don't think quite like that, but they look really good if you take a picture through a telescope.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This has to be some sort of a telescope or something because it's like the detail is
It's incredible.
incredible. Okay, let's get back to our panel. I know, Lauren, you have something for us today for Science in 60.
I
Take it
do.
away. Yes.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the forward speed of this system where it's moving rather fast. I mean, it's moving, Val, do you have the exact stats on how
So
fast?
let me pull that up for you.
24?
Yeah. I think it
24,
was
is that
24
right?
mile per
It's in the
hour.
20
Yeah, double
24, I
digits.
think,
Yeah, there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, it's in the 20 range as far as miles per hour. So we're talking, there's Tropical Storm Jerry there, that latest track, moving to the west at 24 miles per hour. And we mentioned that's kind of fast. Typically, we see storms move around 10 to 20 miles per hour. Sometimes they slow down, sometimes they speed up. So we would consider this a faster storm. But what I have for you today is the fastest forward speed of a hurricane, and that was Hurricane Hazel in the year 1954. It's forward speed. I'm not talking about wind speeds here. I'm talking about that forward speed. 68 miles per hour.
Wow.
So that is, I mean, we're talking, I mean,
Wow.
I know. Good thing you mentioned that it's not wind speeds because that's what it seems
it
like.
does,
Yeah.
it does. When you say 68, you're like, oh, the winds are 68 miles per hour. No, that wouldn't even be
She's chugging
considered
along.
a hurricane at that rate.
Yeah.
That would still be tropical storm force winds. We're talking about how fast it can go. But again,
Wow.
typically the average of how fast a hurricane in particular moves as they get stronger, around 10 to 20 miles per hour. This tropical storm a little bit faster there, already at 24 miles per hour with that forward speed.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That's incredible. But yeah, this one, that one puts this one to shame.
I know.
Here
Do
we
you
are
want-
thinking, like, this
24
is so
sounds
fast.
slow.
Lauren, do you know where it was?
Hurricane Hazel made near the North Carolina, South Carolina border.
Okay.
In 1954, it did make landfall in the eastern United States.
So it was racing towards the coast at that speed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Scary.
Which is scary to think about because,
Yeah.
how were they able to prepare? And
Something
obviously
blink
nowadays
that's
we
there.
have the better technology. 1954, it's a little different, obviously. It's
Someone tells you out in a boat that there's a storm coming. By the time they tell you, the storm's
Yeah.
already there.
There's already
Yeah,
there.
so
You
I don't even know if
blink
they
and
knew
it's
if they knew it came. It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Guys, we're going to be running out of time, but I want to get what your takeaways were from today's episode before we sign off.
Yeah, my takeaway is that we're good to go for at least the next 7 to 10 days. And every time I can say that, it's my biggest takeaway, my happiest takeaway.
Right?
I like that takeaway, Josh. Oceana, what do you got?
The cold front. I'm so excited about
Yeah.
that because not only is it helping protect us from the hurricanes right now or any tropical systems, but it's also going to bring us some lower humidity, some fall I would, fall for Florida. I'll take what we can get.
Gladly take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lauren, anything you want to add to?
Yeah, I just feel like I wanted to kind of echo both of y'all. I mean,
Yeah.
we're seeing Tropical Storm Jerry. We just got that 11 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, and I know people are like, oh no, another named system. Good news to report. I mean, it's staying far away, so we like to see that, and thanks in part to that cold front too. So there's just good news all the way around for our.
I do want to mention something, but because before we were setting up to go live, there's a phrase that Josh likes to say when we're watching a storm.
A little Hakuna Matata,
Hakuna Matata.
all is good. That's right.
Yeah,
That's new catchphrase.
Yeah,
I guess it's not new, but
He's been saying it a lot lately.
Whenever you see me say it, it's good news.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
So,
good, yeah.
Folks, if you're watching, Hakuna Matata means that we're
Matata.
good. We're in the green. There's nothing to worry about.
I love it.
All right, thank you, panel, so much. I know how busy you guys are every day, so I appreciate you joining. And thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you tomorrow. Remember, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock, Facebook, YouTube, and on our website. See you then for the next episode of Wing Tracks the Tropics.